Well, today I'm going to show you how to fix one of these, well, eBay, Amazon, you know, the usual scumbags, LS swap harness. They're pretty tempting to buy, being as affordable as they are now, compared to the big name brands. But there's a few things you need to address before you plug it in, or else you'll fry some sensors. And these latest ones I've been getting here, the O2 sensors haven't been working, so I'll show you how to fix that as well. All you need is a multimeter and a couple easy to find resources, and I'll be sure to give them to you here in the description. But yeah, if you want to learn how to do that, stay tuned. Well, I've got this harness strewn across the bench here. And the only thing I've done is I took the tape off of this chunk of harness here, off the trunk where everything comes together. Um, this particular harness doesn't have the problem, but ones I've received in the past have had. Oh, look at that fucker. Hey, buddy. uh, the map sensor plug, manifold absolute pressure. This little green wire in the center has been tied to power, and I can see it's not hooked up in here, but that little green wire there, if there's two of them coming out of there, I would certainly check this. But a quick and easy way to see if it's shorted of power, so I've got my meter on here and I've got it just a continuity test. So just test that wire to your main power terminals, and if you don't have power feeding back to here, you're good. Those earlier renditions of these harnesses, like if you've got one laying around that you bought a couple years ago, or even I think I had some earlier this year that were wired like this. But this is a T56 style Gen 3 harness, sorry. But this green wire here is for the shift interlock, which I don't think anybody plugs in anyways. But that's just a switch power out of the fuse box, and they have this green wire and this green wire both running in there. So what you need to do is go to lt1swap.com. I'll put a link in the description, and find the map signal wire. I should have looked through this before, but it's kind of an easy color to see. So, red 32. Let's try that one. Red 32. Look at that. We got a winner. Map sensor signal. Okay. So you just chase that wire back into the trunk here until you find it spliced. Odds are it'll come straight down to here, be spliced, and then go right back up into the fuse block leg here. But clip that. Make sure your map sensor wire stays, connected there, and get that power out. The second thing, which is wrong with this harness, is this is your output bundle here. So this would be going to the dash, your fan outputs. The green and the blue, I believe, are the fan outputs. So white would be, get in frame here, would be tachometer signal. And we'll test this back. We're still hooked on over here on the main power lug. And that is teed into power. So I would probably be safe to assume that that would probably destroy a tachometer if you put 12 volts to it, and it's probably not any good for the ECM either, feeding 12 volts straight back into the tach. But those wires are grouped together right here, and I'll show you how to get in there and fix that portion of it first. And then we'll move on to the O2 sensor wiring here. Alright, I got my camera kind of far away. I'll try to speak up so you can hear me, for the sake of being able to work here so I'm not tripping over it. But tach signal here is in the red plug, pin 10. So I'll pull this loom off, and I'll also pull a loom off coming up here and see if I can find the splice. Alright, so what we got going on here is coming out of the ECM plug and going straight to that fuse. The other side of this, okay, that's the power for the OBD2 plug. We find our output harness portion here. I can see what wire is going up in there. Do this guy right here. So all we need to do here, need something to cut a wire with. There we go. That needs to lay like that. All we need to do is cut this wire and connect these two. Leave enough length to get the loom back on decent. Snip. Make sure we got the right wire here. Going out this way. And we'll take her about right there. Okay, now both of these can be trimmed back. Okay, I tried to film splicing this wire, but it's completely out of frame, so we'll try on the next one. But you can see what I've done here. I just took the wire out of the ECM plug and went straight into the output harness and got rid of those two wires that were hanging down here. I actually gone ahead and installed, there was 3 wires coming out of this. The third was going to the power for the OBD2 plug. And what I've done here is these 2 orange wires are the computer constants. And the way these work is, these are the 2 wires that go to the starter. This one comes from that relay, which is switched power. And this big fat wire is constant. Well, the only load on this circuit is the computer constant, so there's enough, if you're not running a huge fuel pump, if you're just doing a stock type install with a whatever. I usually run them 255 wall roll pumps, and I've done this a bunch of times, is I'll steal this other side of the constant power circuit to feed my fuel pump relay because there's no provision there. Instead of running another wire off the battery or, you know, adding a bunch of other crap, I stole those 3 18 gauge wires and stuck them up in the relay. Now I can just come out with my fuel pump feed wire, and I've got a fuse circuit that's connected to some decent power there. Moving on to the O2 sensor side of things here, get those functioning properly. The last couple harnesses I bought have had this problem. The older ones didn't for some reason. I don't know why they changed it, but they did, and we need to do something about it. So the deal is that, see, I have my chicken scratch here. I've got to add pin 63 in the blue connector, and it needs to be grounded, and it needs to be tied to 26 and 29. So on our pin map here from LT1 swap, pin 63, which is right here, that's the O2 sensor low reference, and 26 and 29 are signal low for either bank. So see, the number 63 there is empty cavity. Instead of jamming a new wire in there, we've got some spare wires here. Well, this is the legend for this output harness. I've cut a couple wires out of here already, stuff that doesn't get used. That's F-potty specific stuff. Those wires on the bottom I crossed off. But I've got an orange wire available and a black wire. That speedometer output I don't need because this has got a mechanical trans in it, and that orange clutch position, that'd be for a manual car. So I'll find that black wire, wherever I think it's in this one, I'll pop it out of here and string it up this side, run it to ground, and pins 29 and 26 and 29 there are these two white and pink wires. And then to get my ground, the pins 40 and 80 here both go to ground. To have a little redundancy for the grounds there, I'll cut both of those and tie what it would be, those 5 wires together. Okay, so I've got my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wires lined up here. These two are PCM grounds. Those go back into the trunk of the harness to the engine ground. These are both my low signal wires, left and right bank. And this is the low reference into the computer. So, give myself enough so nothing's pulled tight. And we'll splice it right there. Normally I solder all my connections, like this one here, but when you get a whole bundle of wires like that, it always seems like you end up putting way too much heat in the wire and you end up melting everything back, and it just doesn't seem like it wants to wet in like it should. There's like too much of a heat soak there to get a proper solder joint. So that little barrel crimp is the way to go. And that's just a piece of 1/4 inch NICOP brake line I cut off real short. Yeah, I'll shrink tube that up and that'll be good to go. I got everything wrapped back up and looking good. I got rid of all the output wires I didn't need, and I bundled them, the ones I do need, with the leg that goes to the OBD2 plug. This ECM is going in the engine bay, so I've got this 6 conductor nice shielded cable here. I'll run that in the cab, so I'll cut this back here and run this in the cab so I don't have a bunch of little wires or ugly looking loom running across the engine bay. I'll clean her up a bit. But now I'm gonna get this mass air sensor sorted out. These come with the 3-pin LS1 style mass air with a separate IAT sensor. If you're tuning speed density, it works good because you can just jam a IAT sensor on there and the intake tract and you're good to go. But this is going to have a 5-pin truck style MAF, so I'm going to go ahead and cut that connector and about 2 foot of wire off that harness and splice her into here. Well, first we'll do the IAT wires here. On the truck style MAF plug, these 2 wires, if you look at the plug from the back here, the tan and the black, this black is just a straight black. This one's got a white stripe on it. So these 2 wires here are the IAT. Doesn't matter polarity on it. It's a resistance based sensor. So I struggled for a lot of years trying to solder these small wires together, try to twist them together and jam them together, and they always fall apart while I was trying to solder them. So my good friend Jesse showed me this little trick. This is just a chunk of this wire here. I usually cut it about, 3 inches or so. And I'll strip the whole works off and just leave a little bit on the end just to hold them together so I don't lose them. I'll take 1 strand out of there. Let's see if we can do this. Like I said, polarity doesn't matter on these 2. We'll go pink. Just lay them together like that. And then take this single strand and wrap her around tight as you can get it. Something like that. Now I can solder it and not have to worry about it coming apart on me. Just put a little bit on the iron. Use the solder that's on the iron to transfer the heat into the wire. And should start picking her up here pretty quick. Hold it on there for a bit, let it wet out. She pulled her in there nice. That's all there is to it. Well, I broke one of my own rules there. Normally I would stagger these splices, so if it ever rubs together and somehow this shrink tube gets compromised, that's not going to short out. We'll do that on the rest of these three here. On the rest of the MAF wiring, all this is power, ground, and signal. So that part's pretty much color by number. I did double check on the pinout here to the end of the plug, made sure that this yellow wire is going into the signal. And yeah, just check that over so you don't get yourself in trouble. We'll stagger these ones. There you have it. Gen 3 truck MAF sensor. All the joints are staggered with the exception of the two IAT wires. Had a little brain fart there. Well, that's it. Kind of sucks you have to rework something brand new to make it work, but that's the world we live in, I guess. Still quite a bit cheaper than buying a name brand one, and knock on wood, I have had no problems with them. Another thing to mention is the freedom to put the ECM wherever you want. With a stock harness, you're kind of limited to coming off the driver's side front corner of the engine, and you've got about 2 feet there of wiggle room where you can put your ECM. With this, you can put it behind the seat in a pickup or wherever. This one will be run square body truck. It'll run up along the firewall and then to the passenger side, and it'll duck into the inner fender, and I'll hide the ECM up underneath the battery tray. So hope this helps somebody out. Hopefully you didn't plug it in already and fry the map sensor, or if you're wondering why your O2 sensors aren't working. Thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.